This is Immigrants Making an Impact, the podcast. Today we are so excited to have Ermi Hussain on the show. Ermi, welcome.
Thank you, Mame. Thank you for having me. How are you doing?
I'm blessed. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Let us know your immigrant story and your experience with immigrants. Take us away.
Yes, so my immigrant story, it basically starts 15 years ago when I decided to move from Italy to Canada. And I moved for personal reasons. And funny enough is that now that I've been living in Canada for 15 years, I'm always making a comparison between my immigrant story and the one of my parents, because even my parents are a result of migration because they moved from Bangladesh to Italy, and I was born in Italy. And for me, when I moved to Canada, for instance, I didn't need to start from scratch. I would say that, I knew the language, I knew how to navigate this kind of world. And here in Canada, I did my university, and then, of course, I started to work. And I happened to study in English, which is my third language, and now I happen to work in French, which is my fourth language. So there was a kind of like an evolution in terms of that. And I do make a comparison with what my parents went through because when my parents moved, let's say from Bangladesh to Italy, they didn't know anyone, they didn't know the language. So for them, it was like, okay, we're landing into a foreign country where we have like no clue. And this is typically what you see in the movies, like people with a suitcase going to a new country for opportunities. And now I look at my story and I'm like, it's quite different. I feel like nowadays all the immigration stories are quite different from how it used to be in the past. So that's my story. I moved to Canada and I've been living in Canada for 15 years that you know I like like I do have the Canadian citizenship along with the Italian one, but I always say Italy is my home because this is where I was born, this is where I was raised.
Cool. And if I may ask, how many languages do you speak?
So here's the thing. I always say 4.5, and the point 0.5 being the Spanish one because it's a work in progress. I'm working on it. So I do speak English, French, Italian, and Bengali.
Wonderful. And I believe that these languages have pivoted you in everything that you do when it comes to in relations to work and your community. Tell us a
Yeah.
bit more about that.
Yes. So one thing that I did when I moved to Canada is that I pretty much like for me it was also new, like Canada, it's like you don't hear about Canada too much when you are in Europe. You hear a lot about the United States, like you always hear about the United States in the news. So when I came to Canada, there was a little bit of cultural shocks when it comes to the weather. And still now it's still a big shock. But for me, it was quite easy to navigate the Canadian world because it's so multicultural that I feel like I found, people that were similar to me, people who were third culture kids. That's what we call ourselves, people who have multiple backgrounds. And what was for me beautiful is that it was a discovery process because I got to meet people from like Asia, I got to meet other people from Europe, I got to meet people from Africa, things that were not on my part of my daily routine when I was living in Italy. So for me, like I feel like I started to find people that were similar to me and I started to like, be friends with people. And I was very much involved in my university life. So would be part of like I would do like extracurricular activities, volunteer activities, I would join like social events. And so by doing that, I feel like I was like getting to know people, like getting to understand a little bit about the Canadian, world. And there were other people too doing the same thing. Like they were also like going to these events because they wanted to know a little bit about the Canadian world, how it was. And a little by little, I think I established a presence in Montreal. Like I feel like I also got to, be comfortable in a foreign city, how to navigate the foreign city, how to, navigate the Canadian weather. And the beauty about Canada is that you do have a little bit of everything. Like you get to have like, the little Italy, then you have, a little Greek town, then you have, Chinatown. So it's a beautiful blend.
So sweet. So it's multicultural. And so at the end of the day, you are not alone, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And let's talk about moving to Canada. At what
Mhm.
age did you move and did you come by yourself? How was it like in the beginning?
Yeah, I was quite young. I was in my 20s. And at the beginning, it was quite hard because I feel like I was in a because I live in Montreal, so it's in the province of Quebec, which is bilingual, and so I find myself that I am in a city where no one speaks my languages, no one speaks Italian, no one speaks Bengali, and I happen to live in a city where both English and French are spoken. So there was that. I don't want to say it was a challenge for me because I did know the two languages, but I did had to make that switch, that I'm no longer using Italian when I'm going to the store. I'm using either English or French. So there was that aspect. And the other thing that I noticed is that people in Canada are they're very, like, even though the country is like cold, people are very warm and people are very like sweet and very kind to other people. And I'm gonna give you another example. Like I take the bus every day and I used to take it even at the beginning. So in Europe, when you're taking the bus or the metro, people are not like they're not waiting in a line to get in. We're basically pushing each other.
Hmm.
We're basically pushing each other to get inside. Whereas here I can see how people are like getting on a line. Like whoever comes first is first on the line, whoever comes last is last on the line, and people respect that. So there was that I saw, and I was like, wow, people actually do that, you know what I mean? So that was another thing as well. And then, of course, when I went to university, that was predominantly in English. So again, I'm like studying in a language that is not mine to begin with. So there was that. And even when I started to work, there was that too. Like I had to like work in English and then eventually work in French. So I find myself like I find myself using languages that are like completely different than what I used to know.
Very, very interesting. And I can see that you are really brave to be able to move to a whole new country at a very, I mean, you were a young adult. So if there's any young adult out there listening to this podcast and is looking forward to travel to any country that is new to them and
Mhm.
they are being challenged, they are torn between should I go or not? I'm afraid, is it going to work? What would you tell them?
So I think I would definitely tell the person to try to visit the place at least once before deciding to move. I think just to have an idea, that's a good way to see a little bit of the lifestyle of the country. And then I would say also to familiarize yourself with a little bit with the customs and the culture, how things are done, the languages that are spoken, if there is like, opportunities to look for a job. Because I think people move, but they don't have too much of a clue of like what the lifestyle is, how people are, if you can adjust to the weather as well. I know I keep emphasizing on this, but it is a big thing. I think a lot of people are not used to it when they first come. But if you go in a cold country and then you're like, okay, I'm not used to it, then maybe that wasn't, the right fit. So I always say like go and visit one time this place, see the languages that are being used in a country. Like of course Canada is a little bit of it's a bit special because of course there are provinces where they speak both languages and see a little bit about the job opportunities. And if this is a place where you can build a future on a long term, you have to see if this is where you want to be on a long term. I think this is what you have to envision yourself, because sometimes we move to different places, but then we feel like, okay, the work-life balance is not there. It's so hectic, and maybe that's not the right fit. And I think when you move around, like when you go to a place, also to find connections there. Like if you know someone that lives there, then ask questions. Ask questions to know what was their personal experience with that particular city. So the more information, the better informed you will be to make a decision.
Thank you, Ermi. I think you have given us a plan to be able to know when we are traveling to a new country, the basic things that we need to do before finally moving. Thank you. Let's talk about your parents. So your parents moved from Bangladesh to Italy to
Hmm.
pursue their dreams, and then you were born in Italy. And then when you became an adult, you realized Italy wasn't for you, so you are moving to Canada. Tell us
Hmm.
the similarities between the immigration story of your parents and yours, and how do they influence or affect each other?
So I don't know if there are similarities. I think the only thing that I can think of is courage. I think they were courageous enough to move from, their place, their home country, to come to a completely, new country. And I did the same thing. I left my home country, Italy, to go to a foreign place. And it takes courage, I think. I think it takes courage and resilience. However, I think where the difference is comes is that when they moved, they had no connections, whereas when I moved, I had connections. So I somehow had an idea, but they did not. So when they moved, they didn't know anyone, they didn't know the language. That was quite a struggle, but I think it's also a symbol of resilience because to move to a completely different place where where you know no one, where you do not know the language, where you really have to start from scratch, that's like a bold move, you know? And of course, like for them when they moved, they didn't know the language. So I know that my parents, like my father, he was like, he took classes to learn how to speak Italian. He also like learned how to drive. He learned to be independent. And then of course afterwards, when we were born and everything, like my mother, for instance, she depended a lot on me and my sister to like translate things to go around. But my mother, even nowadays, she doesn't speak Italian, but she's able to be independent and be autonomous. So when she goes to the stores and buy things, she knows how to orient herself. So she knows like, okay, like this is how much it costs. If people say like, at the cash, okay, this is how much you have to give, she knows what to do. But for difficult stuff, like let's say going to the doctor and stuff like that, she always needs us. Whereas for me, my experience was different. I was quite at the same time, I was quite independent. So I knew how to look for the information. And also back in the days, they didn't have internet. Like having internet was a luxury. Whereas nowadays, it's like everyone needs to have it. It's a need. So that too, like I can find my answers easily. I had connections, so it was easy in a way, my immigration story.
Hmm. Very, very insightful, and we are learning a lot from your experiences. Please, could you tell us about building connections as a newcomer in a new country?
Yeah, I think it's very, very important to build connections. And I think being part of a community or finding a community is important so you don't feel alone. Because sometimes moving around can feel isolating, especially if you do not know anyone. And I think now we live in a world where it's very easy to like meet new people. Like you have all these websites like Meetup, Eventbrite, where you can find out about all the events that are going on in the city. So don't be shy and just stay home. Like go around and like go to these places. There are so many things, and you can find things that are like aligned with you. Like if you're someone who likes paint, then there are like painting groups. If you're someone who likes coffee, then there are like coffee groups. If you're someone who likes to learn a language, then there are like English, let's say English coffee groups, or where people get together for a coffee and learn English. So it's important that you participate to all of these events so that you can meet other people and you can feel less alone in the journey. So I did that a lot in the beginning. I still do that. I think there is never an end when it comes to like, making friends, building communities, being part of like social life. And if you feel alone, you can build your own community. Like I know this girl who moved from Nigeria to Italy. And she told me how when she first moved, she felt quite lonely because she didn't know anyone. She had her boyfriend and so forth, but then she felt like she needed that, that support. So she created the community. She actually created like a group. She established an organization, and she organizes like these meetups on a weekly basis with other women, and they get to do things together. Like maybe they're doing like a game night, they are doing maybe, sip and paint night, they're doing a yoga session. So she created a community because she felt lonely. So I think even if you don't find anyone, you can create one yourself.
Very, very true. Well, thank you. And so let's pause and reflect. How has your experiences been so far? Have they been challenging? Have they been rewarding? Let us know.
I would say Like if I have to express it in one word, it would be growth. It would be growth because I think I put myself out there to really like invest in myself. Like I did my university, then I continued my studies. I make sure that I was at the same level as other Canadians when it came to, let's say, job opportunities, the job market. Like I made sure that I had the same skills and qualities and that I was not behind. So I really worked on myself in that sense. I also, went out there and got to know people so that I wasn't alone. So I had these connections and I did a lot of networking. I still do it, even though I've been living here for 15 years. I think networking is so important to you know, for job opportunities. Could be, there's something going on and people think of you for something. They might think you're a right fit. And I also like worked on my languages too. Like mainly it was the French where I had to work, but I think, the fact that I worked on it really helped me to be what I am today. So I really got out of my comfort zone and embraced the uncomfortable. And I think because of that, I saw a lot of growth in me. So that's how I like to describe it.
One word, growth. Well noted. Let's talk about the difference that you are making as an immigrant in your community. So, impact in areas of work, business, family, community. Let us know.
Yeah, so I do a lot of things. I joined an organization called Women in Leadership, and it's based in Canada, and it's an organization that is basically focused on like empowering women and help them to climb the corporate ladder. And it's an organization that I really resonate with. Like it's all about, women's empowerment and investing in women, helping women. It's all about female mentorship. So I joined the organization because I really wanted to be part of a community, but at the same time, I also wanted to give back. I'm big on like being altruistic. I'm big on like helping other people. So that's one thing that I'm doing. I've been doing this for the past 2 years, and along the way, like along my journey, I also did a lot of mentoring, and I mentor a lot of women of color who move from one country to another because I feel like I can share my own experience to other women who are moving from their home country,
Mhm.
and I think that people who moved from one place to another, if they find the right person to speak to, like right mentors, they're able to better guide them in their journey. So now I'm mentoring this girl who moved from her country from Africa, and she's trying to navigate a little bit the Canadian like market. She doesn't know how to brand herself. She wants to work on her English, so I gave her like all these resources. So mentoring is also very big, and I always target like women of color, women who are moved from one place to another. And I've been doing that for a while. I've been doing that for a while as well. I been mentoring for the past 5 years, and I always like target people that are like similar to me. So I'm giving back that way. And yeah, and I'm hoping to make an impact basically.
I would say you are doing wonderfully well and keep it up. Thank you for the impact that you are making in your community. And tell us about your work, the impact that you are making through your work. What do you do for work?
I work in finance. I work in finance. I did finance in university, so I always am a very proud woman in finance. I very much, enjoyed learning finance, studying finance, and I've been working in finance for the past 9 years. So yeah, and I only have like Canadian work experience, so that's the only thing that I would say. And I do very much enjoy that. So I do work in wealth management, and it's a job that I very much enjoy. Like I can say that I am doing what I studied.
Amazing stuff. And what does it take for one to make an impact? Because many times when you talk about impact, people say, "Oh, what do I have to give?" And impact is too big of a word. What do you think?
Okay,
How can one make an impact?
so I would say impact starts with actions. And I think when people think about the word impact, they think, okay, they have to do something massive to make an impact. But impact can be also like tiny actions. So, for instance, making someone's life better by giving them directions to a place, or maybe you're picking up the call and you're helping someone, because they're struggling with an access, online access to their stuff, or maybe let's say letting someone go to the get on to get on the bus before you. Those are little tiny things that you can do. But of course, other stuff that you can do is through volunteering. I always say like volunteering, it's a good way to really be connected with the community. But and by doing that, not only you're helping someone, but you're helping yourself, because you feel so much better afterwards that, sometimes when it comes to making an impact, it's not always about monetary value. It could be also just being genuine about it. But when it comes to like finding volunteering places, I think it's very important to find what's more aligned with you. So you have to think about, what is it that I like to do? Do I like to, help an animal, like, do I like to be in an animal shelter? Or, do I like to help elderly people to take them out for grocery shopping? Do I like to mentor? So you really have to think about, what is it that brings you most joy. And you can just stick to one thing. And just by doing that one thing, sticking to it, being consistent to it, you will see that the impact, like just being there, you're already made an impact. Like a lot of the times people are not doing that effort. So I would say, like, really, it's just doing little things basically.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing those wise words. Umi, so what would you do if you knew you would not fail?
You know what? That's a very good question. And I think if I would, I'm gonna think big, but so if I was going to do something and I knew that I was not going to fail, like one thing that I would very much like to do is to establish an organization that is um, that is there to support women and girls to feel much more empowered, which is what I do already, but it's more about, helping them from a life point of view, but also career point of view. And it's something that I think it would bring me a lot of joy and fulfillment, because you have created something on your own, and I don't feel like a lot of people can always say that. And you get to like make an impact. You get to help other people. You get to serve a community. But I know that there's a lot of like, things that you have to think of, like from a bureaucratic point of view, logistic point of view. But my ideal goal would be to establish something that's like more on a global based, like those big organizations, UNICEF, United Nations, things like that. But it's more focused on like women and girls.
So sweet. I would say the community is behind you. We are cheering you on. So go ahead and do it. Nothing can stop you.
Thank you.
And what is the most important thing you would do today to make tomorrow better?
I think I think to just continue doing the things that I already do. Yeah, to keep on that path.
Mm, mm. Well said. Keep going. And if there's any advice, what would you say to immigrants?
If there is any advice, don't be afraid of discovering a new place. If you don't find happiness in your home country, if you don't find opportunities to grow, and if you don't see your life on a long-term basis in a particular country, don't feel stuck there. You're not a tree. Your roots are not your roots are not stuck in the ground. So always think that your home will always be there, but take an opportunity to invest in yourself by going to different places.
Hmm. Wow, thank you so much. And Urmi, tell us about yourself. Who is Urmi? What do you love to do? We want to know.
So I love to do a lot of different things. I also have my own podcast called Stories Beyond Borders, where basically I talk about immigration stories as well.
Oh,
Mainly people who are multicultural, who moved from one place to another, parents who are biracial, and so forth. That's one thing that I very much enjoy doing. I get to learn from like amazing people, their amazing stories. I I also do a lot of volunteering, and I'm very like I feel very connected when it comes to doing things related to women's empowerment. So I do a lot of female mentoring. I do a lot of, women in leadership work. And I'm a proud woman in finance. I do love my job. I do love being in finance. I think there's a perfect match with my personality because I'm very dynamic. So yeah, and in my free time, I like to read a lot of thriller books, and I like to do boxing, which is something that I am very passionate about.
yeah, good to know. And thank you for sharing. And I must say that your voice is very soothing. So the way you
Mm.
speak, it's very calm and it makes me relax. Thank
Thank you.
you. So it's time to invite our community to come and support you. Is there anything that you are doing that you want us to know about?
I mean, I definitely want people to check out my podcast called Stories Beyond Borders, which is available on Apple and Spotify. I do have also an Instagram account, so if people want to follow their work. And then, of course, I have my book called Discovering Your Identity: Every Birth from Interracial Struggle, which is available on Amazon, where I talk about my story of living in Italy, growing up in Italy, but growing up in two different cultures, the Bengali and the Italian one. So people can also purchase that if they are willing to read about me.
Oh, wow. Well done. So you have a book, a podcast, and we are going to share all that in the show notes. So listeners, please watch out for it and go and support our own and let us cheer her on to the top.
Thank you.
So finally, please complete the sentence for us. Immigrants are.
Immigrants are a symbol of possibilities.
Woohoo! Immigrants are a symbol of possibilities. Thank you so much, Umi, for coming, for sharing your experiences, your immigrant story, journey, and everything in between. We are so glad that you came.
Thank you.